It's the HoopWise Podcast from New England Basketball Journal, a comprehensive look at the basketball landscape in New England, tracking prospects, recruiting, college, and more, with your hosts, Steve Hewitt and Ethan Fuller.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the HoopWise Podcast. My name is Steve Hewitt. As always, joined by my co-host, Ethan Fuller. We are the New England Basketball Journal. We have another very special guest today. Joining us in studio is Michael Crotty, the director and the 17U head coach of the Middlesex Magic.
Wow, that's
applause. Middlesex Magic, one of the top grassroots programs in New England. It's really become a fixture of the amateur basketball scene in the region since its inception in 1993. When his dad started the program, it's now one of the top programs nationally on the Under Armour circuit. A little background on Mike: was a player on the first Magic team in 1993, right? Went on to have a standout career at Belmont High, a year at Phillips Exeter, before a great college career at Williams College, two-time All-American, 2003 national champion, set a bunch of records. Just a great career. Worked with the Celtics as a director of player development for a little bit, was with them for the 2008 championship, and then took over the Magic in the program that his late father built. Mike, quite a resume. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Is that it? I can go now. I got to bring you with me wherever I go. No, I appreciate it. It's great to be here. It's nice to meet you and have a conversation. Appreciate all you guys are doing to help cover the guys and girls in New England basketball. It's awesome.
Absolutely. How's your summer been?
Summer's been great.
Yeah.
You know, it's always fast. July is basketball, and August is a lot of family time. My wife's family's, they're all from Greece, so we were over there with our two sons and had some good downtime, and then right back into the fall AAU swing, and but it was a great summer. Thank you. Yeah.
What does like right now kind of look like? Is this kind of like a kind of quietish time? I know commitments are heating up across the country, and for you guys especially. What's right now kind of looking like for you?
So I don't know how much of this my wife will watch, but I like to think she'll get through the first couple minutes. There's no downtime anymore. It used to be a little more cyclical where, there was the big spring and June was quiet, and then July, and then August into September a little quiet, then tryouts. Everything's just moved out and in. So when you come back in mid to late August, you have tryouts, you get right into the fall season, and we have a pretty vast program, in the spring, summer, and fall. So we have that, and then additionally, one of the things we're so proud of, and we just put a post up the other day about our class of 24 that just got to college. We've been averaging just over 30 college commitments a year. So we'll have 4 or 5 junior boys teams, and a lot of attention gets given to the Under Armour team. Rightly so, they're great players. But our hoop group team, our hoop group showcase league team led by Papa Lambros, the new Nobles coach, who I know you've covered recently, they won that league.
Yep.
And every player there is a college player. And Alex G. and Gregorio coaches their next group, and every player on that team is. And then we have Kamali and Moody Bay. So this year I think we could get close to 40. So we already have 14 commitments in 2025. So the answer to the question, is it a downtime? It's not. Everyone wants to, and then before, a lot of these guys on my team are making decisions between 4, 5, 6 schools, and I have great relationships with these college coaches, but they're calling you. Maybe they're in town to watch an open gym. You want to grab breakfast. You want to say hello, and yes, the answer is. So it's actually a wildly busy time, and I think the closest thing to a downtime for me is November and December, when I'm just watching my guys and supporting them. But there's no 2 months in the year that go by quicker than November and December. Yeah. And then we're off and running again. So
Sorry to interrupt, Mike. I do need you closer to the microphones.
Sure.
So you should be just about an inch or okay.
No problem. Is that all good though? Did that audio work?
Yep, we can absolutely use that.
Beautiful.
No problem. And
right. Is that good there?
Yeah. You're good now. You're good now. So whenever you want to, I think Steve, you were about to ask a question. Either way, good.
Yeah. So busy time with commitments, as you kind of just touched on. For your 17U team, handful of commitments in just the last week.
Yeah.
Talking about Alex Wilkins going to Furman, Dahi Quinn to East Carolina, Dylan Vallette to Merrimack.
Right.
I guess what's kind of this week, what's it been like for you? Obviously, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
How gratifying is it to kind of see these kids' dreams come true, the kids that you've kind of grown up kind of watching, and like how just kind of gratifying is that for you?
Yeah, it is quite a bit. I mean, I talk with Chris Giordano, who has coached with me for 10 years, and Bill Boyle for 15, 20. And, you some of these kids we've had for multiple years, some for maybe a year or two. But you're in the gym with them, you're on the road with them, you build these bonds on and off the court. And ultimately, of the many things that drive me to do this, the most gratifying, the part where I may be walking alone and a kid gets a scholarship offer and you're like, yes, like, and you're alone, you're like, bam, that's it. You're excited. Like, that never stops. We have some 2026 guys that are starting to pick up some steam now. Quinn Costello at Newman's getting an offer every other day. And it's never, I asked Barrett Lohr, who is another just great player and kid, I said, what do you think about when he got his 10th offer? He's like, every offer is amazing. And so that's pretty cool. Like, as a player, I had one. It was a Division II offer. I didn't wind up taking it, but I remember where I was in my parents' house. I remember the wraparound cordless phone, like or cord phone, not cordless. And so I got that one. Some of these guys are getting 10, 20. And so it's super gratifying because I know the work they're putting in their own time, but I also know the work we're putting in together as a team. And then I know how my mind never kind of shuts off in terms of team construction. Like, I can't stop thinking about 2026 now, and we have some fall players, but are there going to be more in the spring? And we like to put puzzle pieces together and not just aggregate talent and hope it works, right? Like, I played college basketball for Dave Paulson, great coach, current coach at Holy Cross. I played for my dad. I played for the late Paul Lyons at Belmont. Amazing coach, state champion. I was a ball boy on that team. I was in fifth grade. I didn't get any jewelry, but I kept him hydrated and threw good passes. But I played for great coaches, and I saw puzzle pieces put together. And so, for me to answer that question, when you start to identify a kid, I think he would fit well here, and then it starts to come together. There's joy there. Then they're working on their own. Now we're working together. Now you're starting to see it work. Then you're winning. Then they're winning at a high level. Then they're getting offers. So the final step is their commitment. And it's wonderful. Sometimes you get a little more excited early when you see it starting to happen in the gym, or that first, second, third offer comes. It's not like the commitment isn't, that's the peak of it. But the commitment's coming at this point. When Alex Wilkins has 25 offers, it's not like it's anticlimactic, but he's going to get it. And so it's more like, great. And sometimes they're getting recruited so long and so hard that it's almost just a sigh of relief when they do it, because, they have to disappoint a lot of people that they like. And I think many of these young men could have success at a number of different places. Ryder Frost is the only guy left on the board for our UAA team. He's got wonderful options. I think he could have success at many of them because many of them are great and he's great. He's going to disappoint a lot of people when he makes his decision. He's going to make one crew happy. But it is super gratifying when you like to think back and you look back at all those moments. And sometimes you don't get a lot of opportunity to reflect like that. I'm kind of doing a little bit in my head as you asked that question. But I remember my first conversation with Alex Wilkins. I was in the basement. My kids were asleep and he could only jump on the phone late. And I was like, man, he's a special kid. And we really clicked. And he said, I'd love to come to a practice. He came and it was instant. And he's like, this is where I would really love to be. And I won't ever forget that phone call. And I won't forget coaching him. And that was a 1-year thing. But man, what a perfect thing. So it's certainly a big reason for my why, helping these guys get where they want to go.
Yeah.
When you are directing and coaching, as you said, 30 players on average who are looking at college, how do you compartmentalize all that and keep yourself organized? How do you delegate responsibility for who's kind of following what players' college journey? Like, that is a lot. I don't know if I would be able to manage 30 kids who are getting a ton of offers at once.
Thank you. Look, do I have notes? Yes. But most of this, like anything, even when you're in school, it was easier to study for something that you liked and you were passionate about. You had to study harder for the thing you didn't like as much or it didn't come easily. This is my life. This is, the Middlesex Magic is not just a grassroots program to me, right? It's something my dad started. I played for him. I'm 43. Things started, 80% of my life ago. I mean, it's been a big part of it, and now it's bigger than that. It's family always, but it's my profession now too. But with my junior guys, we're all in the gym together. I coach the one team. I also coach 16U because I think there's good continuity there. And some guys I get to coach 2 or 3 years, which is great. But I have personal relationships with everybody on Lambros, Alex, Moody, every junior. That's what I tell them. Like, I might not coach every game. I'm going to coach the UAA team games. But I'm the one that's going to be using the relationships I've built my whole life to discuss them with you. And I was just having a great phone call with Jay Lawson at Bentley, who I've known since I was this big, going to Bentley camp. And the friendship there is in Danny, his son, you know, who's been a head coach Division III, he's an assistant coach now Division I, and a remarkable coach. You know, those guys, I can't talk to Jay for 5 minutes. It winds up being 25, but it's so enjoyable because we have so much to discuss. And those relationships, like, I love that part. And whether it's the guys in the NESCAC or the NUMAC or the UAA, like, I'm a D3 guy at heart, right? I played at Williams. Those were my relationships I really had. And then the D2s. The D1s have developed over time as our program has grown and as we've sort of ascended in that way, and the players have gotten better, or we've gotten better players, or helped them become better, whatever you want to say. So managing it certainly can be a lot. But I'm really invested in trying to help positively alter the future of these kids. And that comes with challenges, right? Because sometimes Billy or Johnny and their parents may think expectation, like, we think he can get here. And I may think maybe here is the spot. Maybe it's a little below. When they're juniors, I'll say, hey, okay, I might think it's here. You got to be direct. When they're 14, 12, I want to play in the NBA, great, keep working. I mean, it's a very long shot, but maybe. We just got our third guy active in the NBA, so I'm never going to say no. But when they get older and the rubber's meeting the road, I think clear expectations matter. But I'm at games all the time in the winter. I'm supporting them. They know I'm there. What do you want? What are your goals? What are your dreams? And then I try to line them up with what's realistic academically, athletically. And if they know you care and you build trust and you're direct and transparent with them, because I have these relationships, I've done this, I lived it as a player and now so many times as a coach, I think there's good trust there. So are there notes? Yes. Lambros team, each player, all the schools recruiting them. Alex team, Crotty, yeah, I have some notes. I do, because it is a lot of guys. That being said, it's like the test I don't have to study for as much because I'm pretty passionate about it. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. You touched on Alex Wilkins, the 6'5" guard on your 17U team, plays at Brooks School, just committed to Furman last Friday.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't have a single D1 offer going into the AU season this year?
Yeah, 0 scholarship offers.
0 total.
Correct.
First of all, how is that possible?
I mean, look, Alex is spectacular in every way. You know, as a kid, as a person, I told him and his mom and dad, he'll always be a starter on the I wish I coached you more than 1 year team, always. But man, what a great 1 year it was. And how is that possible? I don't know. And I'm never going to criticize anyone else at their job. Like, he played for good programs, and this college coaching and recruiting thing is hard, guys. And it's only been made to be way harder for the 19-year-olds because you can get 22 and 23-year-olds to direct line transfer without sitting a year. So if you have a good team and you only need a piece, and he and I are really good 19-year-olds and you're a really good 23 or 22-year-old, sometimes that's the fit, and you're not going to ruin culture because they already have it. Let's say you're a really bad team and a bunch of people leave. Well, you don't win young. You can't get 5 19-year-olds in the Atlantic 10. You got to go get some guys, and guys that have experience, strength, size. So it's never been harder for a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, junior, senior, whatever we want to call them, to receive scholarships. It's never been harder, which makes me all the more proud that we're going to be 9 for 9 Division I. And Matt Gaffney's a great player who's received some Division I offers on Lambros' team. And we may have some others as the year goes on, John Kelly and Luke Soden and Robbie Fiore, Thomas Fernando. There's a bunch of scholarship level talent. It might just not be the time where there's as much available now. But I think we have a bunch of people also that understand you want to go where you wanted. You want to go where hopefully you can have a career, really hopefully play early and play well, and have a chance. Kids in high school, it's big if you score 1,000 points. Like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, well, it's even better if you do it in college and if you win and if you have a great team and culture. So those are things we hope for our guys. We want guys at the highest level, but my dad before me, Billy Boyle, Chris G, myself, Lambros, all the guys, we want fit, right? You want somewhere you're going to go and play. And now there's the ability to transfer up. And now these guys can transfer up and make a lot of money legally, right? It's out there, the
Crazy.
NIL. So when you look at two of the better players we've ever had, you can easily say they were under-recruited, but Duncan Robinson transferred up from Williams to Michigan, and Tyler Kolek transferred up from George Mason to Marquette. And, now they're playing for a living, making some good money. So sometimes it's about fit. And look, is it wonderful that Ryder Frost had all these high majors and J.P. Estrella and Dom Kimmel and Cormac Ryan? That's wonderful. But we love every level, and we want fit for our guys. But doubling back, Alex, amazing. And it was obvious that he had that kind of ability, and it just fit brilliantly with us, our program, and him, and he took off.
Yeah. Ryder Frost has been brought up a few times. I wanted to touch on him. 6'6", 6'7" wing. One of the really proved himself as one of the best shooters in the country this summer.
Sure did.
His stock soared. I think it was like a year ago he got his first offer, and it was like from Lemoyne, something like that. And now a ton of high majors are after him. Yeah. He's the last one in your 17U class to make a decision. We don't know when that's going to be yet, obviously, but
taking your time, aren't you, Ryder?
But he just cracked the ESPN top 100.
He did.
Number 97.
He did.
Just had a huge summer. Something like 25 to 30 offers, somewhere in that range. Talk about his development and kind of what you've seen from him over the course of the summer. What kind of strides did he kind of make? Yeah,
I met him when he's in the 7th grade. Great family. Dad is wonderful. His brother Brennan was on the road with us a lot. Great guy, super funny, super smart guy that our team loved to be around. His mom, stepmom. He just got a great support system. Always was pretty big and strong. Always could really shoot it. What he's done in the last 18 months, though, is make another step in the transformation of his body. He's a machine physically. His shot was always compact and fast. It got tighter and faster. And he's put in the work. He's put in the reps. I always said shooting is about consistency and repetition. And his is amazingly consistent, and he takes more reps than just about anyone. Maybe him and Ferdinando. They never leave the gym. I just say shut the lights off, but they really work at it. And for Ryder, I was just talking with him yesterday about this. He was on our 17U team in 2023. He was a junior at Beverly. And then he made the decision he was going to leave and be a junior again at Exeter and reclassify. And he was playing on the 17U team, which was a loaded team. C.J. Happy, Ryan Mila, Luke Save, C.J. Cox, Jay Jones, Austin Hunt, Alex Berry, Dahi Quinn joined, Justin Menard was there, Jacob Hogarth, and Ryder was there. And, Ryan Mila's at Providence, amazing talent. He was kind of at that spot. They're different. In the spring, Ryder, he was kind of making shots. He wasn't making them at the clip he was hoping to. And as we got ready for the summer, he said to me, do you think it would be best for the team and for me if I played 16U in the summer? And I thought, what a mature kid to say that. Well, most people would not want to leave this team that has championship aspirations. And I said, I almost don't want to lose you as a weapon on the 17U team, but I actually think it's what's best for you. And he played 16s with Ryan Altman and Barrett Lohr, and a lot of other really good players, and that team was great, but Ryder took off that summer playing 16U. And I really think that set his confidence as he approached the year at Exeter, where he was Class A Player of the Year. They won the title, and then he brought a boatload of confidence into this year. And it just kept going and going. I think the cover really came off of it at the first live period, in Cincinnati, our second Under Armour stop, and in the final game, he made 9 threes. Wow. And we had a lot of guys there to watch, but that's when it started. Syracuse and a bunch of others kind of followed suit shortly thereafter in May. But for Ryder to have the wherewithal to make that decision to play 16U, and then when we win it with that 17U team that year, he was on the side of the bench where everyone was, but he wasn't on the bench. And I'll never forget him and his dad. His dad almost ripped my arm off when we like high-fived and we won. I said, Brady, you might have torn my labrum, but he's a strong guy. But no one happier than those two. And that's another moment I won't forget. Like we've been here for 4 or 5 years. We love the program. We just want to do what's best for the program and our son. And he comes back this year and, he walks out of our program as one of the best we've ever had. And he's got Duncan Robinson aspirations, right? Like, well, let's be a shooter of that ilk. Like, I think that guy could shoot the ball for a long time and be a great college player and play as a pro afterwards. So he's the best.
You mentioned briefly that part of what helped Ryan was the physical development of his body and working on that. Do you feel like that standard has changed over the years for high school athletes, that it's more than just general conditioning and kind of being physically fit, that there is like a higher level of whether it's like nutrition or strength training? Sure. Is the standard higher than it used to be?
Well, I tell all of them, none of them are as big as I am and physically fit. No, I love to say that. I'm like, I'm not really at my playing weight anymore. I was a few pounds stronger. No, it has, and that's a definite. And for some, and maybe for some not. Ryder, to speak about him, like, his body is his engine. It's like, I think he takes care of that, and I think the guys joke with him. I mean, he got pretty well put together. So sometimes we'll be playing, and like, who's gonna go shirts and skins, and we just laugh like he rips his shirt off. And Jay Jones will be busting his chops all the time about that, which I love. And another guy, Jay Jones, man, been in our program so long. I like have practice now, and Jay's not there, and I'm like, it's less fun without Jay. We're gonna miss him. What a player, what a leader. But anyway. Yeah, these guys are putting a lot into it, and some bodies are ready to take it earlier, Ryder, and some bodies, if they evolve, Alex Wilkins, I think that guy could play for money someday too. I think he's a pro. Now, saying that, like, no crystal ball, and anyone who says they know, that's absurd. But I look at the tools he has, and if that body, he's really spending time on it to get stronger, eat right, all the habits, sleep, all these things, it's all out there now. The studies are out there. So now when they get to college, these are not options. It's like, hey, you need to put X amount of calories in your body. You can't eat this. You can't drink that. And the guys that pay attention to it, I think, see the returns on their body quite a bit. So we've had a lot of guys, our whole team, all of our juniors, they're all working that way. But Ryan Altman did a great job getting stronger and more athletic. The guys he worked with do a great job. Dahi is working at it. He's got some natural, just sort of man strength about him too. Yeah. Dylan Villette, Barrett, Workers, Jay, all the guys, Sammy Hughes, they all really put time into it. And Landon Clark, it matters, and you see that in them. So I do think it's different than, I would say, when we were younger, but you guys are younger than me, so a while back. It has changed, it's evolved, and I think they're putting a lot of time into it. Okay.
Yeah. So you're obviously head coach of the 17U team. Want to peel back the curtain a little bit about Under Armour. Sure. Which you guys joined that circuit a couple years ago, 2022.
3. Yep.
Okay. How did that all develop? Because obviously you guys haven't historically been part of a shoe brand. I know there's a story The Athletic did with talking about how your dad kind of turned down Reebok back in the day. There was a whole story about that.
Sure.
How did that all kind of manifest itself? Is that something that you guys, for lack of a better term, were trying to avoid being on a shoe brand? Like, what? Yeah. How did that all kind of come together?
You know, the world of grassroots basketball is ever evolving, and I would say, what is it, 2024? Probably about 10 years ago now, I had a conversation, which I mentioned in that athletic article. It was with an Under Armour rep, and it just didn't feel right. The questions they were, it didn't seem like it was very real. And back then, it didn't seem necessary. We were still getting games against all of these clubs, locally, nationally, and quite frankly, we were having a lot of success. And I think we were right there. I don't know if we jumped on one earlier, if we would have won as quickly as we did, but I know we would have competed because our guys are really good players. We coach them hard. I think we do a good job coaching them. So how did it manifest itself? So, the kind of COVID year, we had a heck of a team. Dom Campbell, Brady Cummins, Josh Morissette, Mike Loughnane, Will Batchelder, Brendan McNamara, Keegan Sullivan, Josh Baldwin, Xavier McKenzie, Aiden Kamen, Trevor McDonald. We had this loaded team, and some events were canceled, and then we went to Dallas for an event run by The Circuit. They have events, they run rankings, they do a nice job covering the country, and we went out there, and I said, please give us the best games you can give us. And we played 2 EYBL teams the first day, both from Texas, and we got up by 20 on both of them, and we won both. We didn't win both by 20. They were good, but we managed 2 very solid wins against ranked teams. And we'd done it before, but maybe not in Texas. We went into their backyard and beat them, and Dom Campbell's rise kind of took off then. He became a top 100 player. He started at Notre Dame. He's at Howard now. And I think now the world can see information change. Like everyone sees, the Magic went to Texas and they beat Pro Skills and they thumped Houston Hoops. These are really good programs, and with NBA players, guys that are in the NBA now. And I think Under Armour took notice. The guys do a great job. There are some people in our corner that I think stumped for us. And Jimmy Patsos works for Under Armour. He's a guy that just knows everybody in the world and in the space. And our final tournament that year, we went to Indianapolis and played a bunch of good teams. And Under Armour had their event there. And he came over and said hello. I knew him from my dad. And he's like, I think you guys could do it. And I looked at Under Armour that year. We played 3 of their Elite 8 teams, and we were 2-1. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we could hang there. And so then a conversation started, and it just felt like the right time for us to add that platform sort of to the portfolio we have of, UAA and HGSL, and having our high school guys all have the right platform to gain the proper exposure and try to really help that many kids. Not many programs can or try, and we wanted to, and we've had some success due to the kids, due to the families, due to the platforms. So a conversation started, and it was pretty simple. They wanted us, we wanted to be there, and it's been a great 3 seasons. Up until this year, they had a spring champion and then an overall. And when we went out there the very first year in 2022, we won the spring championship with 16s and 17s. So first weekend was pool play. Second weekend, you had to get into the top 8, and then we win both. They actually had to change a championship game time. They were both at 11:45. And I said, can you move 1 to 1? And we won them both. We were 8-0 with the juniors and 7-1 and won it with the sophomores. And we splashed in there right away. And from, I think, Under Armour teams being like, this is good. We got another good program. This is exciting. Then I think right away they're like, all right, we don't like these guys. No one wants you to come in and win it all right away. And then in 23, we won the overall with Happy and Luca and, Mila and Cox and that group. So we've had a lot of success. Us and Team Thrill have the best 17U records in 3 years. We're 47-11 in 17U. Wow. And it's been wonderful. The competition is amazing. The coaching is amazing. But, Tor Watts, Jimmy, Pat Coombs, his whole crew, Adam DeMong, Rafi Goldman. There's so many good people running Under Armour. The events are just immaculately run. From signage to timing to college coaches. I haven't spent time on the other circuits. I'm sure they do a nice job, but I'll put our guys up against anyone. I really love working with those guys.
Yeah. So I'm still getting used to this space, as you know.
Sure.
I'm still learning about you guys in the program, but just from my observations, it just kind of seems like you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of defy sort of the perceptions or like stereotypes that are out there about grassroots AAU teams. Like people from the outside might think there's just a lot of greed involved in it, and I'm sure there is to some degree, but you guys weren't in a rush to join a shoe brand. You guys play a style of basketball that I feel like people from the outside think AAU is just kids. They just want to go in and play iso ball and try to impress coaches, and it's kind of maybe a little bit of selfish basketball, but you guys play a team style of sharing the ball and all that good stuff. And then I know people have this perception that AAU teams don't practice and I know for a fact you guys practice multiple times a week. I know you're in that gym in Nobles. Is that a fair assessment? Like that you guys have sort of a unique maybe approach, or you sort of defy those stereotypes or perceptions that might be out there about grassroots basketball?
I think that's fair. I think for starters, there's a lot of really good programs in the country.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're highlighted enough because it is a little bit of low-hanging fruit, or it certainly was years ago when some AAU coach was trying to use a kid with his program to get some money and get a job. And that stuff happened, right? It happened. There was illegal stuff and all these things happened. The world's changing, right? Now it's like, all right, hey, the guys can get paid. There's less amateurism to NCAA and college basketball, which is probably right. And they're trying to figure it out. There's no easy answers. But yeah, thank you. I take that as a compliment. I do believe we're one of those programs. And I think it all goes back to, my dad, Mike Crotty Sr. I know you mentioned, the late he passed in 2010. My dad was a great athlete who probably didn't have enough discipline, he would tell you, and didn't make his way to the Division I schools. He had some opportunities. I didn't win the Marine Corps. He came back. He married my mom, and they had my sister 5 years older than me, and they were just hard workers who didn't get to college and didn't, wanted things for their kids that they didn't get to. And they worked so hard for it. And my dad started our program because he wanted to help out some kids. That was it. This was not some grand plan. You don't sit down with a massive business plan or an idea of how you're going to change the grassroots community. But he did it every day, just being good to people and offering them a great place to play basketball and to have a family environment. And one team led to two and two led to four. And next thing you know, I'm in college with our crew and he's still doing it. And now it's 5 teams, now it's 6. And he loved it. He loved the relationships. He loved helping kids and motivating them and giving them a lot of things he didn't have as a young man. And I saw that. I felt it. I got it from him, obviously as a coach, but as my dad. And so I got to watch that, and that was, you talk about gratifying earlier. I used to be so happy for my dad, when his kids would get across the finish line and when they would do well, because I knew how much it meant to him, and I loved him so much. So that is definitely a part of me that made me want to keep this thing going. And we do try to be different, but there are a lot of good programs. I don't say we're the only one. Right. But I'll take that, what you said, and say, yeah, we're different. I tell them we're not an AAU team because that has that connotation, and it shouldn't. The Amateur Athletic Union is great. Like, they've done a lot for sport, but it comes with no one gets back on defense. It's one-on-one ball. It's selfish. It's me. And that is the antithesis of what we are. We are a team that cares about each other. I tell them when we huddle, we put our arms around each other, and if you care as much about the guy to your right and left as you do yourself, and not just saying it, don't just say family, but really try to mean it. When it's not going well for you, can you be happy that it's going well for Steve or Ryder or whomever? Can you do that? Because it's hard. Human nature's against it, and then social media will tell you, this guy's getting that, I'm better than that guy. Put your head down and keep working and believe in what we got. And we have something going now for a long time where when guys do that, they can get through tough patches, and then some of that stuff they've been working for comes. So I do believe we're different in that, and that stems from what my dad started. At our youth level, his motto was always work hard, have fun, get better, and that is sweet, and it's great. I've said this before if I've been on podcasts. He was also a remarkably competitive guy, and I have a lot of his traits. We want that youth stuff, and we still want to compete down there. But when we get to the high school level, we want to work hard and have fun and get better. That's lovely. We want to win, right? The guys are out there to win a game. You're not going to win them all, and you got to learn how to lose the right way, and learn your lessons and be a sportsman and shake hands and take your lumps. But it's also okay not to lose if you work hard and you do it right. And we've done a ton of winning because these guys care about it. Sam Hughes, Ryan Altman, Landon Clark, those guys could be leading scorers on a ton of other programs in New England. And they said, no, I want to be on the best team or the best team we can be, and we want to go win. And they did that, and then guess what? They all got where they needed to go and to the right fit for them. So I do think we differentiate in that way, and I do think that there aren't a lot of people leading a grassroots program that wake up every day and get to walk into your own gym over at BSI and where our home is and It's a big portrait of my dad, and get to carry your dad's legacy. It definitely means a lot to me. We've got 20 guys that either played for me or my dad that coach in the program. It means something to them. That's why we put the MC on the jersey. That's for my dad. And Bill Boyle, our coach, who was with my dad forever, he played for Al McGuire at Marquette. They put Al on the jersey at Marquette. You probably know that. It's never going to go away. Billy suggested that, and we'll have that for my dad in perpetuity. And so the guys know. They don't know him now. He's been gone longer but they know what it means, and it stems from that. So we try to differentiate. We try to be a real basketball team, not just some group of guys that are coming together for a short period of time.
Wow. Yeah, I appreciated listening to that. That was really interesting for me.
Thank you.
I think one of my questions that I had, we've talked a little bit about the NBA players that have come through, Pat Connaughton, Duncan Robinson, now Tyler Kolek. I think what was interesting for me, especially with Pat and Duncan, is they, through most of their amateur careers, the NBA, at least from an outsider perspective, would not have been remotely in the landscape of potential outcomes. Particularly knowing Duncan going to Williams and then getting to Michigan and then going to the Sioux Falls Skyforce, even in the G League, and to now be, I think when he signed his contract, he was the highest paid undrafted free agent ever.
Correct.
How much of their journeys do you use as teachable moments for your current kids?
It's a good question. I mean, they're ever present in our building. They're on our banners, and I've remained remarkably close with both of those guys. They're family to me. They're like younger brothers. I don't think father figure. I was 28 when I was coaching Pat. I didn't know what I was doing either. So those guys are like younger brothers. I love them. Sometimes it's difficult to use them as the journey to point toward, because they're making millions of dollars and playing in the NBA. So that might seem a little far-fetched to the struggling 16-year-old who's having a rough go of it in January of his sophomore year. But to your point, that was Duncan Robinson at Governors, who bloomed late, and Patrick athletically was always sort of just this beast, throwing 92 miles an hour. All these baseball scholarships could I don't say very easily. The guy would be a major league pitcher if he went that route. I mean, many offers in the millions to be drafted first, second round out of high school. I'm going to Notre Dame, and then winds up getting drafted. I think the Padres took him real late. There's so many rounds, and then after the 3 years that they have to wait, he got drafted in the 4th round by the Orioles. Had all the tools, but love basketball. Play golf with these guys. I mean, these guys. I like to play golf with them when I can, and I can still get them every now and then. Duncan, Patrick. Last time the 3 of us played, I got you. But they're prolific athletes. Once they start spending any time at golf, they're probably going to be 2-3 handicaps. I think Pat's close to that now, anyway. And so sometimes they're tough to point to because of where they're at now, and it just seems like reaching for the moon. Yeah. But when you talk about Duncan being a 6'6.5" junior whose body hadn't filled out and was yearning for some Division I recruitment that he didn't receive, that's real. And the times have changed. Everything's, kind of moving around. But I point to them a little bit. I'll point to them more so when it comes to mentality. Mentality, Pat Connaughton, he's never down. Something goes wrong in a Milwaukee Bucks game, there's no complaints. I mean, you could just go on Twitter or X, Google, whatever you want. Pat Connaughton cut in the face. I mean, that guy gets hit in the face more than anyone in the league. And 90% of the time there's no foul. And he'll just be like, there's just blood streaming down. They patch him up. He's right back out there making a play. Because Pat just has this thing that I think Len and Sue, his parents are just wonderful, instilled in him of just, it's never the world's fault. Like, did you do enough? Maybe you lost that one. Try to do better next time. And a lot of the world has the mentality. Did you see the way Billy got screwed by that ref? Or did you see the coach? I can't believe he didn't leave him in. Oh, after he missed 9 shots and made 2 turnovers? I can't believe it. That's where the world is. Pat's parents, there's no excuses. Lenny could have done better. And they support him and love him. But, like, with that, what great parents to coach a kid of, because they were always like, what more can he do? So I point to the mentality of next play. You can always go make a next play great. Hit a drive 340 yards into the woods, Pat's He's going to go hit a 6-iron out somewhere near the green, and that's a real story. And he's just going to make a par somehow. You know, Tyler Kolek, you talk about work ethic. I mean, maniacal, like crazy. He just can't not be in the gym. You know, the guys at Marquette and George Mason, they had to like lock him out. It's like, you can't come in tomorrow. You're not allowed. And he'd probably find a way for a manager to get into like the YMCA 20 minutes away. That's Tyler. So you can point to work ethic and be like, hey, he's really good, but that guy made himself who he is. And then Duncan's kind of got this wonderful combination of, you know, he has a very good next play now mentality of like as a shooter, and one of the best shooters in the history of the game. You know, now, I mean, he can make his first 5, he's ready to rip it. He can miss his first 5, he's ready to rip it. That wasn't always the case when I coached him. You know, confidence and growing confidence was something I was trying to instill in him, because I was like, oh my God, if I could ever shoot the ball the way you do, I would probably be really difficult to play with. Yeah. And he was so unselfish. So him building up certain mentalities that are now strengths, I point to that. So there are pieces you can point to for all three. But it's more about their approach or their mentality or their work ethic or things of that nature, and less, yeah, man, if you just keep your head down and work, you can be just like Pat. Like, well, no, Pat could stand here and jump onto the desk, broad jump. He's got a 44. You know, like that might not happen.
Yeah.
Right.
There's something, you might not shoot it like Duncan. Sorry, no one on the planet does. So, you know, you got to point to sort of the characteristics as opposed to the whole guy. And that's probably what you were really asking. So I guess the short answer could have been yes. But,
no,
you know, but
great.
there are ways. It just can't be like, oh, if you do that, you'll be just like Tyler. Are you out of your mind? No, you won't. You will not. No one's like Tyler. He's different. So, yeah.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
Are there any other kind of like fun stories of coaching Pat or Duncan that kind of stick out in your mind? I know Pat had that crazy week in 2010 where his recruitment just went crazy.
Yeah. Down at the AU Nationals. It was probably more like 12, 13 days. They used to run back-to-back tournaments, and he had done it as a sophomore too. My dad and I were coaching him together, and he was amazing. And then you're like, man, we're back in Orlando, where it all used to be there. And I said, I don't know if he can be better than he was last year. And then he was. And then you're like, he can't be better later today than he was this morning. And then he was. And then he did it again and again and again. And I mean, he had like a 3/4 court shot in a game that he had 38 points and 24 rebounds in as time expired to get us in overtime. He wins the tip. We run a backdoor. He dunks on a guy. We get a stop. He jabs into the 3 against this team with 5. And I remember it against Chicago Old Gold. And you're just like, you know, I was 28. I'm coaching. I'm like, what is happening right now? This guy is on another level. And you know, and that's when he was one of those first guys that busted into the top 100 for us. He mentioned Ryder did earlier. Mm-hmm. And Pat, you know, he was recruited heavily and, you know, went to Notre Dame, and the rest is history. You know, so many memories with him. We were playing in a gym in New Hampshire. Connor Mahoney, great player for us, scholarship player at Lemoyne. It was thrown ahead. It might have even been Pat that threw it ahead to him, and he took a right wing 3. Connor's an exceptional shooter. And it just kind of grazed off the front of the inside of the rim. One of those pop-offs came off the glass, and it was coming off hard, and Pat was running in transition, and it kind of popped out over his head, and he just reached back with the left, boom, and he dunked it. And I was just looking around, and he was coming from the left. He did it with the left, kind of landed, came toward that other sideline. His dad, Len, a lefty, Patrick's not, put his left hand out from the first bleacher, and Pat gave him a high five with the left. 2 left-handed high fives going by, and I was watching. I was like, he's the coolest guy ever. Like, he just made a one-hand lefty put-back dunk and high-fived his dad. Like, how cool is that? Like, I want to do that with my dad, you know? And so, like, I remember that. Well, he'll laugh if he watches this. I'll have to send him the clip. But he'll remember it. You know, he made a very similar dunk against Charlotte when he was playing for the Trailblazers. Lefty put-back, amazing, before he went in the dunk contest and got a 50 and all that stuff. So, great memories with Pat, but... And obviously with Duncan and Tyler, you know, we did a good amount of winning with all those teams. Tyler, we won back-to-back HGSL championships. I mean, you know, we played this great team, Crown, my friend Chris Despera, he's an awesome coach, and we had to play them in a game, and we were down 5 with 50 seconds to go, and we ran this Iverson screen, and instead of running an action, we just took Tyler. He caught it. He just threw a dribble to the corner. Just like circled around and threw up a 3, bang. So we cut it to 2. We fouled. They missed 1-on-1. You know, we called timeout. I'm like, I don't want to get too crazy with any actions here. Let's just put the ball in your best player's hands. We went high ball screen. He rejected it, shot a 3, hit it, we win. And you're like, okay, I didn't really do much there. Just made sure we got the ball to the guy who should get the ball.
Right.
And, you remember those plays from Kolek and Duncan. You just remember, you remember how good he was, but how good you thought he could be. And it's not like you're watching him and saying, he's going to make 1,000 threes before anyone in the NBA. And anyone who says that, they're like, did you know? I'm like, no, didn't know. We knew. I thought he could be really good, but and that's just the lying. You have to say, what's the lottery number tomorrow? So, but I have great memories of them all. And then honestly, subsequent being in Milwaukee when Pat won the title, being on the court with him, being in Boston when Duncan and the Heat won the Eastern Conference 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. I love the Celtics, and Sean Sullivan's my guy. I've coached his kids, and Rich Gotham and Brad. They've all been in the program. The owners. Love them all, the Edgerleys, the Palukas. But that was a great moment still. I wasn't rooting for it. It's a tough one because I love the Celtics. Now these guys all play for these Eastern Conference foes. It's like I need someone in the
rivals,
West. Now you got the Knicks. And so but with Tyler, I was in Madison Square Garden when they won the Big East. So I've had those moments ring out a little bit more now. Coaching them was amazing, but to be there and see their hard work get to that next level, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How involved do those guys kind of stay with the program? I think I saw Duncan came back this summer for maybe a camp. I don't know if it was a camp.
Yeah.
Are those guys still coming back and staying involved with the program at all? Is that something that's important to you to kind of keep them present in some kind of capacity? Or
you know what? I just want to stay as present in their lives as I can because I love them all. I don't really try to lean on them to come back and do this. They want to come back, which is really cool. Duncan came down with Harry Rafferty, a teammate of his, who's just an amazing coach and was a great player at Wesleyan and a great friend of mine. And they came down. They didn't need to. They came to my Coach Crotty Point Guard Academy just for Duncan to talk to the camp a little bit and say hello. Pat did it at the other camp. Honestly, the last few years, one of them has been at each week of camp. It's just lined up. Yeah. And they're always willing to do that, which is great. Tyler and Pat came to the Under Armour Championships in Chicago in 2022, both being in Milwaukee at Marquette and with the Bucks at the time, and it was, summertime, and they came. They sat on our bench. They hung with the guys. We have a video where both of them our video guy did it, and they talked about what it meant to them, which is really neat. So all three of them it matters to them. Yeah. I just say that it matters a lot, and I think all three of them sort of know that there was a uniqueness about the match of Tyler Kolek and the Magic and Duncan Robinson and the Magic and Pat Connaughton and the Magic, as it's been with many other guys that aren't in the NBA that play Division I, II, III. So many great guys, but they are wonderful to our program, and we're just so proud of them.
Yeah. Cool. We've talked a lot about the past of the program, obviously the last 30 years, and how much it's been built to this day. And I guess I'm curious, how do you see maybe the next 30 years of the Magic going? I don't know how much you sort of think about the future and how bigger or just the different things that you could keep on building on, or how do you sort of envision the future of the Middlesex Magic? Kind of a broad question.
You got another hour?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding. Great question. First and foremost, I want to continue to do our best to grow our girls program, the Lady Magic. It's smaller in nature, and it started, in the recent past. And sometimes it's difficult to be great on both sides, but that's not going to stop us from trying. That's our plan, and we want to be able to help as many young women as we can, young men. So that's a goal. We've had our 3-court facility for 5 years. That's been big for the development of our camps and clinics. Chris Giordano, who I've mentioned before, heads up Gold Standard Training. Chris is just an amazing coach, mentor, best friend to me, a guy that it's just a pleasure to work with every day. Building and expanding on that will continue to be a big part of what we want to do, because I think you can serve such a wide range there, from the beginner to the development to the really high end player. So that's another goal. And then, we want to be a club program for as many good players as we can, as long as we have the two most important things that I always say to running a club program, which is excellent dedicated coaches and really good facilities. And if we have those things, we'll continue to try and serve as many kids as we can to help. And, there's maybe a few other things in the works that we can talk about the next time I come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're always
tease.
trying to drive it, and I think that is one thing that is to be in this seat now, and you have to look back, like when my dad started, hey, as a team, and a second team, and you're just kind of going. Now we've kind of got it to a point where you actually can plan now, right? As a little bit as just wake up every day and kind of see what happens. There's so many good people in our space and so many good partnerships that the Middlesex Magic have. So we're always trying to figure out how can we develop these partnerships to continue to do, two really important things: impact as many kids as we can, and try to teach the game the way we know we can, because we feel like there is a little bit of a void in teaching it the right way. And those are the two things we want to try to focus on, and as much as we can.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Bobby Moran, Director of Athletics at Thayer Academy. You know what? Experience matters, and Thayer Academy's professional coaching staff understands how to work with each student athlete to help them succeed. Our coaches and faculty are committed to ensuring both 5th to 12th graders feel known, connected, and prepared. This is Thayer's secret sauce, nurturing each student to reach their full potential. Here, success is truly a team sport. Are you ready for your child to take the next step? See what Thayer has to offer at thayer.org. That's THAYER.org.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
That's great. Yeah.
Let's toss it to Yaz for full court press.
Thanks for the toss. Good pass. Here we go.
Full court press.
The sound of sneakers squeaking on a newly waxed gym floor. Isn't it better than music? Anyway,
Best.
Full court press is where we throw out 3 questions to all of our panelists here. They're unprepared for these questions. And what we're going to do today is you're going to hear 3 quotes from basketball personalities. And I just want you to react to the quote, pro, con, or anything else that sort of conjures up in you. First quote comes to us from Michael Jordan. You might recognize it because he said it during a Nike commercial. And MJ said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." I don't know if that was written for him for the commercial. But anyway, it's a pretty good quote. Tell us, Mike, why don't you go first if this speaks to you, if it rings true for basketball?
Yeah, great quote. Jordan was a media darling ahead of his time, I think. But there's going to be so many setbacks when you play every game, every half, every quarter. I mentioned my college coach earlier, but we had a next play mentality. So if you can't get by the mini failures that occur every single game all the time and then go try to make a good play, not rectify your mistake, because sometimes that really just compounds it, but to go back and just try to make a good play and then stack good plays, that's how you're going to win, and then you get to learn from the mistakes. So great quote, Jordan. Tough to beat him.
Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, obviously it's not basketball, but I play a lot of soccer growing up with teams, and that's kind of my motto is next play, what Mike just said. That's what it takes. You're going to fail, and you just got to learn from your mistakes, pick yourself back up, and learn from it and move on to the next play.
No one shoots 1,000%, unless you're Christian Laettner in that one game. Ethan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think these kind of quotes are always really great. For me, thinking about my very young media career, when my very first game that I ever covered at the Boston Globe, I lost my recorder. I left it at the gym and had no quotes after. And so I remember in that moment thinking like, oh, great. Like my entire sports media career lasted one game and that's it. And so I think for those kind of quotes, I think about one day I or you or whoever is going to be successful, and you're going to look back at all these times you failed and be like, okay, I did learn from these. I didn't let them define the way my career, whether that's sports or for me media or whatever, went. I didn't let that stop me from continuing to chase what I wanted. And so I like to think about a lot of those in that way.
Yeah, it's hard to forget. It's why I would say I think back to the 04 Red Sox called themselves idiots, and in the case of Johnny Damon, it was accurate. And but like Damon and Manny, I think the two of those guys, they weren't the brightest bulbs, but you could tell when they were up at the plate, if they were 0 for 3, they weren't thinking about the 0 for 3. They weren't thinking about much of anything really. And then you get like a thinking man's player, and it can be a detriment. I guarantee you that night that John Starks was 0 for 16 or whatever he was, he knew when he was 0 for 10 and he was thinking about it. That's probably why he missed the last 5 shots or whatever. We move on though. Second quote comes from the great Bill Russell. He said as follows: "Concentration and mental toughness are the margins of victory." Ethan, why don't we go around the horn? We'll start with you on that one.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe a little bit of a similar vein to the last quote. Are you able to put aside the whatever failure you may have just experienced in a game or in a personal setback before and only focus on what you need to do now and next? That is really hard to do, but I think about that in a lot of ways for basketball, because you only play one play at a time in basketball, and so you can't really think ahead because you have to get through the next play first. So yeah, I think I would agree with that. Head games are also important in basketball, I think, because it's one of the sports where you can hear everything your opponents are saying. Unlike, you can't hear what the center fielder is mumbling under his breath when you're on the mound or whatever. But there are memories of replete of Larry Bird talking smack and getting into other players' heads, and maybe that's a little bit about what Russ was talking about too. But Mike, let me let you answer the question. Concentration and mental toughness.
Greatest winner in the history of team sport.
Sure.
I'll take whatever he says and run with it. I grew up with a dad who grew up here in the 50s and 60s, so Bill Russell is, if he was here, he would still argue that he is the greatest basketball player of all time. Yes, mental toughness matters. My second favorite sport is golf. Golf's got a little talk out here. I think you can draw from other sports. We're talking about multi-sport athletes. When you're in playing golf or tennis, you're out there by yourself. If you make a mistake, you got to walk. Maybe it's 10 feet and then another tennis ball goes out. But if it's golf, you got to walk a long way. And if you can kind of refocus and stay in it, and to your point, a little similar to the last one, I always just tell guys, just go make a good play. Just go make a good shot. Go do the next thing. I think there's mental toughness there. And I think concentration is probably a word that doesn't get enough. And it's well said. Like, sometimes guys are just out there rocking and rolling. Now, to your point about Manny, who, maybe might not be a scientist, but in the box, he was a genius.
Right.
He was a genius in there. And part of it was that he could let go of it. So I think you want your people to be focused. I tell my guys all the time, I want you to play with focus and freedom. It's a double F that I give them, right? Focus and freedom. So that's focus, concentration. You need to have it, but you have to blend it with kind of being free. But yeah, Bill Russell, whatever he says, he wins.
Correct.
Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, I keep kind of going back to my very amateur athletic career. I'm a as some know, I'm a big marathoner. I've run 8 marathons, and just there's nothing in the world that can prepare you for the kind of mental toughness that's required to kind of get through that. When you're at mile 21 of Heartbreak Hill and you've run 21 miles and you have 5 more to go, but you have to go this ridiculous hill to get through everything. And it's not just basketball. It can cross over into marathoning and soccer and whatever sport you want to talk about. But I can definitely attest to the mental fortitude that's required to get through some of these games or sporting events or races or whatever you're doing.
Bill Simmons of The Ringer tells a story of how he used to go to an annual party on Marathon Monday, and it was about 2/3 of the way on the route, and so they would look for people they knew rooting them on, and these 2 dudes were running, and they were pretty wiped, and they stopped at this outdoor party, and someone handed them a beer. And the plan was for them to go back on the course, but they had a couple beers and they're like, you know what, we're good. There wasn't much mental toughness there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. All right. The final quote comes from the late, great John Wooden. He said as follows: "Do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do." You can interpret that any way you like, I guess. But Steve, you get to go first on this one.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. John Wooden said, "Do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that goes along with the theme of the mental toughness. Like,
well, he might be speaking to like a weakness in your game, overcoming that or whatever. But I think it's all sort of ties together.
Yeah. You don't want to. I don't know. I go with the mental toughness part of it, where you don't want to. You're always thinking about the next play or or trying to get through a bout of adversity. You're going to go through adversity in life and in sports, and how are you going to rise above it? So
I guess it also brings to mind something that, of course, I'm always thinking back to Larry Bird, and he could have a game where he only scores like 7 points, but you look at the rest of the line score, and it's pretty much typical because he just kept working even though his shot wasn't there.
Yeah.
Mike, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Well, for starters, John Wooden, amazing pyramid of success. I didn't get to mention Cormac Ryan. He might make the NBA this year too. He's on Exhibit 10 with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Played with us for a couple of years. His dad got me a signed, framed pyramid of success with John Wooden. I love that. I love the pyramid. I love everything about Wooden. And I look at it a little bit differently. So I think about it, sometimes you're going to have players on certain teams, and what's your role? And Doc Rivers, who I spent 3 years around with the Celtics, was great. He said, be a star in your role. So, yeah, don't let the stuff you're not as good at, or we're not asking you to do. Maybe you're pretty good at it, but you're not as good as Ray and Eddie House. We're not asking you to shoot transition threes, right? James Posey, sometimes, yeah, but do this stuff you're great at because that's what this team needs. And do that, and we'll win, and because of that, everyone wins. I look at it that way. And if you're a younger kid trying to develop your game, I look at it like you can work on the things that are weaknesses, or I try to change that word and say areas of needed improvement, but areas you're not as strong. But remember to keep working on the thing you're really good at, because that's probably why you're going to get on the team and get on the floor. Let's not lose sight of what you're really good at. Don't let those things you're not as good at get in the way. That's how I see it.
Ethan?
I think I thought about this going back to our conversation about Pat Connaughton and Duncan Robinson and Tyler Kolek, and how if you're a young developing player, you can look up to them, and a lot of what they stood for, you're in all likelihood not going to be as good as they ever are, even at their specific skills. And that doesn't mean that you can't find confidence in what you are good at for yourself and let that take you to where you want to go. And so even though you might not be one of the world's greatest shooters in Duncan Robinson or a world-class athlete like Pat Connaughton, you can still find ways for yourself to have success in the ways that you want to, and just kind of be confident in the player and body that you are. And if you can find that confidence, that's going to take you a long way.
Yeah, remember when Tom Brady would occasionally scramble? Every time he did, his running looked so unnatural. Yeah. It was like, oh, just stop, just go down. He wasn't good at that. Larry Bird famously said, I can't jump, I can't run.
Stay in your lane kind of thing.
Yeah, never bothered them one bit.
Yeah.
Great answers all around. Pat Connaughton bobblehead dolls for all of you today. If I can find them somewhere. Who's wrapping things up? Steve, Ethan?
Yeah.
Who am I throwing it to?
Yeah,
Steve,
I'll wrap it up.
Go for it.
Yeah, great conversation with Michael. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll have to have you in for another episode to keep talking about the great things that are happening with the Magic. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there for Ethan Fuller. My name is Steve Hewitt. Producer Dave. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.